Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 2 of Living Room Chats with David and Rachel. I'm David Baldwin,
And I'm Rachel Lucking.
and we just want to keep you connected to Framingham State in some way with some interviews and things of that nature. But first up, we have to discuss the fact that it's been a month and I haven't had a haircut, Rachel. And
It looks fabulous. Let me just say.
No, I'm starting to look like George Jefferson, and I don't like it.
Is it wheezy?
Yes.
That means we're moving on up as planned.
I can only wish. Doesn't seem like it when I'm looking like this, though. And what about you? How are
I've
you
never seen your hair that long. Well, as you may or may not be able to tell, I mean, we're getting a little dark and gray. I think from now on, this is how I'm going to do our post. Because I think it's just more accurate, but no, I'm okay. But that in mind, as you know, there's other people in my household who have hair that needs to be dealt with.
Yes.
Specifically, my 15-year-old and his beautiful head of hair, which I just decided to cut.
Oh, okay. That's great. Well, let's see. I want to see this hair that you just
He was a willing participant, and we researched and found an appropriate video vetted by one of the Kardashians. So you know it's good stuff. So he has agreed that we can show. He's willing to come on to our show as a special. He's a special guest this week. So if you hang tight, I will grab him so you can see my fabulous work. And I dare to say that I might have to leave student development for a second career.
Well, we'll see about that.
All right, hang on.
Well, welcome, Christian. Your mother tells me that she has cut your hair, and it doesn't look bad. I thought it would look much worse, actually. It looks more like a mohawk than anything, but I thought it would look much worse. How do you feel about all of this?
Well, I'm not going to be seeing anyone soon, so.
So if you were going to school today, you would be, no, this is...
No, I mean, our school doesn't really care if we wear hats, so I just wear a hat most of the time.
So I have to go back in, because this involves scissors, and part of the issue is
you're allowing her to go back and do more to this.
She said she would go back. I never said yes. So, yeah.
You're a brave man, Christian. You're a brave man, because I don't even have that much hair, and I wouldn't allow her to do that.
David is coming in nicely, though. Don't you like his?
I do like it, yeah.
That's all right. Well, thank you for participating.
Thank you for coming in and showing us, Christian, showing the masses. We appreciate it.
I think he still looks handsome. So.
Well, he does look handsome, but
you can't see the back of it, so that's the other thing. You can't see the back of it.
Excellent. Well, I think it's great that you cut your son's hair and that he allowed you to do that. He allowed us to take a glimpse at it.
That's the bigger accomplishment, is that he's still speaking to me, and he agreed to come on our show. But people are willing to do whatever for the fame that comes with being on this show. Because of all the 150 views that we had on episode 1. I mean, we are blowing up the World Wide Web.
All righty, everyone. Now it is time for our segment called Common Threads. Well, I will say that last week's attempt at Common Threads didn't go over too well. But we have a new idea based on John Krasinski's virtual prom that he's doing this week. So I thought that we would come up with, well, Rachel came up with, of course, because she comes up with all the ideas. I'm here for the ride.
I just make you execute them.
Yes. She's like, we should do prom pics. And I was like, oh, God help us all. But I did it. I got my mom to send my senior prom picture.
I had to get in touch with Beverly.
Yes, Rachel got her prom picture. So next week's common thread, I want people to rummage through, find their prom picture, upload it, and send it to me for next week's common thread.
And
You're gonna
include
give
the
us
year.
and the
Include
year as well. The year of the prom as well will be very helpful. And Rachel and I are going to show you our pictures now to
Because we wouldn't ask you to do
entice you.
anything we wouldn't do.
Exactly. So this is exciting stuff.
This is
So
exciting. This is some hot stuff.
God help us. Here we go. Well, look at us. We are 3 years apart, but you would never know it. 3 years and half a country apart, but you'd never know it.
I just,
I especially like the backgrounds that we both have with I think the same plants are in the background.
I think so.
Yes. So
There's a lot happening in these
Yes.
photos.
yes,
I
there
mean,
are.
most notably would be your hair.
Yes.
That's
I
not
did have
George
hair at some
Jefferson.
point in my life.
That is more like Kid and Play.
And I love the shoulders that you have going on with your attire.
That's some good stuff with my
Well,
wonderful date, my boyfriend at the time.
well, see, there you go. This is good times. So people, we did it. You can do it too.
You can do it too.
Send your pictures into myself, and we will show a display of prom pics next week. So please do that. All righty. Thank you. Well, April is Sexual Assault Awareness Month, and our guest for today is Kim Dexter, our Title IX coordinator for campus, and she's here to talk about some things with us and keep us informed.
Excellent.
Well, our guest this week is Kim Dexter, our Title IX coordinator on campus, although she has a much longer title, and I'll let her give you that because it's the longest title that we have on campus. So Kim, how are you? Introduce yourself.
I am doing well. Thank you for having me. Yes, my full title is Executive Director of Equal Opportunity Title IX and ADA Compliance. Within that, I am designated as the University Title IX Coordinator, Title VII Coordinator, Title II Section 504 Coordinator. There might be another one in there too. You know, it's hard to keep track of all.
Now you're just bragging.
Only a little bit.
Just bragging.
You have the most titles of anyone on campus.
No, but I've been at FSU for 15 years now, and I've spent going on about 6.5, I think, in my current role.
Nice.
Nice.
Well, one, it's April, and April is Sexual Assault Prevention Month. And Title IX is this all-encompassing thing. People just throw out Title IX for all kinds of things.
Mm-hmm.
Well, how can you narrow it down and tell us, kind of pinpoint what Title IX is?
All right. So when we're speaking about Title IX, it's specifically Title IX of the Education Amendments Act of 1972, which prohibits sex-based discrimination in education. Sex-based discrimination, that includes all forms of sexual harassment and sexual assault, including rape. And then we also include behaviors like domestic violence, dating violence, and stalking under that umbrella of Title IX. So it basically says, when you're in our community, you should be able to expect an environment free from any sort of sexual, domestic, or domestic violence and stalking.
Nice. Well, thank you. That's helpful, because I know people hear Title IX all the time and they think back to sports and all of that stuff. But that's really what it boils down to. Most students know you from orientation when they're a first-year student coming in, and you talk to them through the consent video that you show them. Just about everyone's seeing. What are you hoping that students take away when you show that video at orientation? What are you hoping they take away from the video?
So we've been doing this consent session in orientation for a few years now. I want to say 4 years. And it's delivered by myself and Jay Hurtubise, our Director of Community Standards. And you know, our goal in the limited amount of time we have with our students is to dive into a topic that so many of our students have just never been able to openly discuss in the past. They haven't had honest conversations about what dialogue should look like with their sexual partners. They may be uncomfortable speaking openly about sex at all. So we start by just trying to break down those barriers, create a really positive environment where we can talk openly, but also really honestly about how you would express what you may want sexually or romantically from a partner or partners, and understanding how your partner is communicating their wants to you. Because really that's the foundation of preventing sexual assault, is having a clear understanding of what the parties are agreeing to, in terms of that romantic and sexual interaction.
A great majority, all of them, are at home
Yes.
or somewhere in semblance of home. What advice would you give those that are perhaps maybe in an unsafe environment in terms of domestic violence or sexual abuse at this time when they're at home?
Mhm. And this is a really big concern right now, with so many people isolated at home, people who are self-quarantining. There is already some data to suggest that violence and abuse in the home is increasing because of that isolation. And we know that there are individuals who may be in unsafe situations who cannot access the resources that would help move them forward, or into a safer situation. So, some examples, include folks who may be sexually assaulted who, are either unable or too afraid to go to the hospital to have an examination done, or people who cannot access support lines or chats because their phone calls and their internet usage in the home is being monitored. So, I want folks to know that we see you. We know that you're there. We're doing what we can as a community to try and make sure that as many resources are available as possible. But we also recognize that there may still be barriers in accessing them. So please, take the steps that you need to take to be as safe as possible. And when you feel you're able to do so, reach out to my office, take a look at the SHAPE website, get in touch with our partners at Voices Against Violence. They're the local organization that provides an advocate on our campus every week when we actually are present on campus. They are still operating and assisting folks in any way that they can, including creating new sheltering opportunities that are consistent with the quarantine procedures. And we have a number of other resources up on the SHAPE site. So when you're able to access them, please do. And then, remember that there's other, perhaps not so obvious resources that remain accessible, such as virtual counseling through our own counseling center at the university, or just by contacting me directly.
Excellent. And I hope people avail you of that offer. Men are often seen as the perpetrators in these scenarios, but they can also be victims. But they're also skeptical about coming forward. So what would you say to men out there that may be facing this and are reluctant to come forward?
Mm-hmm. Sexual and domestic violence is experienced by people regardless of gender, male, female, non-binary, genderqueer folks all experience these forms of violence. We also know from the research that, while the data shows men are more likely to perpetrate this type of violence, it's a very small percentage of men who do. That being said, knowing that men are survivors as well, one of the resources that we promote on the SHAPE site is malesurvivors.org. All of our resources, though, are available regardless of gender, including any support through my office, through the Dean of Students office, and Dean Noack Borrego, who I know was your guest star last week. She's the Title IX coordinator for students, so also available if anybody needs support. The folks at Voices Against Violence, we are all providing support and resources regardless of gender. So again, know that while we don't always hear as much discussion around men as victims, we know that men are victims, women are victims, non-binary folks are victims, and they all deserve to be believed, and they all deserve access to support.
Very true. Your job requires you to hear and experience a lot of painful things. How do you personally cope with that? How do you let it go? How do you go home and be Kim Dexter?
So, and this is true of anybody who's doing work in spaces where folks are sharing their traumatic experiences. We can experience vicarious trauma. A lot of the same physical bodily reactions that folks have to direct trauma can occur for folks who are receiving that information and therefore experience this vicarious trauma. So increased levels of stress, difficulty sleeping, depression, and a number of other consequences. And it can be hard work to continue doing if you don't take good care of yourself. So, for me, that can look different on any given day. I think a very, very meaningful thing to do is keep focus on the people that are receiving help and looking for those good and positive outcomes, because that can help bolster you on the more difficult days. But also just, taking time to step away, taking time to just kind of focus inward. Before our conversation, I participated in just a virtual chair yoga. Just gave me some time to breathe and stretch a little bit and put myself in a good centered place. And it's not just for those of us who hear this information professionally and have to provide support professionally. The same sorts of stress and challenges can come for folks who are hearing about experiences that their friends had or that their family members had. It's important to do what we can to offer help and support to others, but make sure that once those folks are safe and receiving that support, that we are taking a moment to make sure that we've done the same for ourselves. I also am not shy about letting folks know that therapy is an important part of my overall wellness. I hope we can continue to remove stigmas around getting help through professional counseling services. And again, a reminder that all of our students have access still virtually to our campus counseling center, and our employees can access counseling services through our employee assistance programs.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much for your time today. I appreciate it. And
Thanks for having me.
Thank you, Kim.
So thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of your week and stay safe.
All right. You as well. Thanks again for having me, folks.
Thanks, Kim.
Bye.
If you or someone you love is in an unsafe environment from domestic or sexual violence, please ask for help. For more information and resources, please visit the SHAPE website at framingham.edu/student-life/SHAPE. Love should never hurt or make you feel less than. That's all for this week's show. Love yourself before you can love or care for someone else. All right, see you next week.